Have you ever felt like you're working hard, chasing big goals, and doing everything right, and yet you still feel stuck? You want more confidence, more money, more success, more freedom, but no matter how hard you hustle, it always feels like you're just one step behind. Now, the truth is, top 1% women don't just work harder, they think differently. And it's their mindset that completely sets them apart. I've helped thousands of ambitious women make this shift, and when you do, everything in your life starts to change. How you view yourself, the actions you take, and all the doors that open for you. In this video, I'm going to break down 8 powerful principles that will totally transform your daily grind into extraordinary results. Principle number 1, winners walk away. Imagine you spent years building your dream business, working late nights, filling your calendar with endless meetings, and pouring literally everything you have into it. You've climbed higher and higher, the peak is finally in sight, and then you choose to walk away. Not because you failed, but because you refuse to stay on a path that no longer serves you. This is exactly what Serena Williams did. Serena wasn't just winning, she was completely dominating her field, with 23 Grand Slam singles titles to her name. Serena was considered one of the greatest tennis players of all time, and she had a career most people would desperately hold on to, no matter what. But Serena knew that true greatness wasn't just about winning more and more trophies. Instead, it was about having the courage to walk away at the very height of her success, even with the whole world watching. So in 2022, she made a decision to step away from her tennis and focus on her family, her entrepreneurial ventures, writing books, and growing beyond just one version of herself.
I feel it's more of like an evolution of Serena, and there's so many things that I've been wanting to do for so many years, and I have such a passion for tennis for so long that I have never done it, but now it's time for me to start to enjoy those things.
Now, top 1% women understand something that most people don't. Quitting, when done strategically, is not failure. Quitting is just part of the bigger plan, but most women hesitate to make such a bold move. In psychology, the sunk cost fallacy is our irrational tendency to keep going at something just because we've already invested time, energy, or money into it. Instead of looking at the bigger picture, we justify our past investments by thinking, I already started, so I might as well keep going. But sunk costs are traps. And successful women know when to walk away. Not when things are falling apart, but while they're still winning. They exit early from businesses, jobs, and even relationships when they recognize that the longer they stay, the more they lose. Ask yourself this question regularly. Am I staying because it still aligns with my vision for the future, or just because I'm too afraid to walk away? Now, I'm not suggesting you quit your job tomorrow or end major relationships after watching this video. Start small by practicing this mindset with smaller decisions. Maybe it's deleting that app that wastes your time but you already paid for it. Or step away from work projects that no longer make financial sense, even though you've already made a fair amount of progress on them. Stop attending social events that no longer energize you, or donate clothes you haven't worn in a year, even if they were expensive in the first place. Every time you practice walking away from something that no longer serves you, even if it feels comfortable, you build the muscle for making bigger moves when the time is right. Because walking away isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of true self-awareness. When you realize what's not working, you create space for what will. And when you exit earlier, you end up moving forward faster. But if you are playing the long-term game, you need to know when to make sacrifices, which brings me to principle number 2, seasons of sacrifice. I want you to imagine this. You're standing at a crossroad. One path is smooth and familiar, paved with easy routines, predictable weekends, and you're making just enough money to stay comfortable inside your routine. The other path, on the other hand, is rocky and uneven and filled with uncertainty and long nights and more moments of doubt than you'd like to admit. But it leads somewhere you've never been before. It's easy to say things like, I want to be wealthy, or I want to make more money, when you're staying safe and standing still. But the real question is, are you willing to walk the hard road? Building wealth, especially if you're starting from nothing, requires something most women shy away from: seasons of sacrifice. This is when you go all in with total focus, and make tough decisions and pour your time and energy into your vision and be willing to delay comfort for much bigger rewards. So when I was building my business, I didn't chase balance. Instead, I chased progress. And then I deliberately put the other parts of my life into maintenance mode. I said no to invitations that once got an automatic yes. I let go of routines that were pleasant but didn't move the needle. And I embraced the idea that you can have everything you want, just not all at once. Sometimes your season of sacrifice will last 6 months, a year, or maybe 2 years, but it's always temporary and it's always worth it. So what's important to remember here is that top 1% women don't try and make every single day perfectly balanced. Instead, they build momentum over time by embracing the different seasons of life. There will be periods of intense grind where you go all in with laser focus, followed by times of rest to recharge, reset, and rebuild yourself. And so if you are in a season of sacrifice right now, I want to encourage you to own it, name it, and commit to it fully. Not with resentment, but knowing that it isn't permanent and it will buy you freedom that lasts a lifetime. In fact, I'd love to hear what your goals are for this season right now that you are in. Leave a comment down below. I'll definitely reply to you. But this principle does come with a warning, because there is one sacrifice you should never make, which brings me to number 3, avoid the burnout trap. Now, from the outside looking in, Arianna Huffington looked unstoppable. She was building the Huffington Post, working 18-hour days, and balancing the chaos of entrepreneurship with being a mom. But behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting. Her stress levels were rising, and one day, it all caught up with her. She collapsed in her office, hit her head on the desk, and broke her cheekbone and woke up in a pool of blood. Yes, you heard me right, a pool of blood. But can you believe the cause wasn't some kind of random accident? It was total exhaustion, chronic sleep deprivation, and crushing weight of burnout. Despite all of Arianna's success, her body simply gave up, and that moment forced her to confront a brutal truth. When your body fails, everything else comes crashing down with it. Top 1% women view their sleep, good nutrition, and daily movement as not just nice to haves, but non-negotiable assets, and all a part of the business strategy. You can have all the ambition, all of the work ethic, and all of the talent in the world, but if you sacrifice your health, it will catch up with you. In fact, after her collapse in 2007, Arianna didn't just recover, she totally transformed. She redefined what success looks like to her and wrote best-selling books on well-being and launched a new company dedicated to health and mental resilience. In fact, she calls this moment the wake-up call that changed my life. So if you want to build an empire that lasts, remember that your body isn't a side project, it's your foundation. And in the words of the late, great Jim Rohn, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. Number 4, the lucky engineer. We all love telling stories about lucky breaks, right? There's the woman who just so happened to meet the love of her life at a coffee shop, the entrepreneur who bumped into an angel investor at a party one evening, and the musician who got discovered overnight. Stories like this always sound so magical, and sometimes they feel a little unfair. But if you look a bit closer at the women who actually make it to the top, you're gonna notice something very different. Luck for them isn't random, it's engineered. And back in 1978, a neurologist called Dr. James H. Austin divided luck into 4 types. First, there's blind luck. This is the luck we kind of can't predict or control because it all just comes down to pure chance. Then there's luck from motion, which means putting yourself in enough rooms, enough conversations, and enough situations where something good can happen. And then there's luck from awareness. This is building your knowledge, skills, and expertise so that when an opportunity does appear, you can actually recognize it. And finally, there's luck from uniqueness. You become so distinct in who you are and what you offer that opportunities find you, not the other way around. Now, here's where most women go wrong. They waste their entire lives hoping for blind luck. But the top 1% women live and breathe in these last 3 categories. They put themselves out there, build their skills, and carve out a space so unique that luck can't help but find them. So for example, imagine starting a new job as a product manager at a fast-growing startup. Instead of hiding behind your desk and waiting for instructions from your boss on day one, you introduce yourself to the tech team, the marketing team, and even the CEO, creating collisions that spark opportunity. A few weeks later, you're then invited to lead a key product launch because of these relationships that you've built. This is an example of luck in motion. Maybe you notice a recurring customer question that nobody else seems to answer. But since you've spent extra nights studying the product and talking with the support reps, you immediately recognize this as a big opportunity to offer a game-changing solution. This is luck from awareness. And last but not least, luck from uniqueness would be pitching a new idea to your boss that uses your extra coding skills to create an interactive prototype and getting the green light to lead the project. Can you see how luck like this isn't random? It's intentional and designed. So if you want more luck, here's how you create it. Move more, say yes to more opportunities with huge potential upsides, and start more conversations and get inside more rooms. 2, sharpen your skills so you actually spot the cracks in doors most people miss. And make yourself stand out by embracing your differences, even if it feels a bit strange to you at first and comfortable at first. But remember, even engineered luck can go to waste if you're busy playing the wrong kind of game. So let's talk about principle number 5. This is the top 1% games. See, most women spend their entire lives trying to be richer, prettier, and more successful than the women next to them. And I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I've fallen into this trap a few times in my life. But women who rise to the top 1%, know that this kind of competition is just a losing battle because it's a finite game. Simon Sinek describes finite games to be like soccer or basketball. The rules are fixed, the players are known, and the game ends when someone else wins. There's always a winner, and there's always a loser. Infinite games, on the other hand, are very different. They don't have winners, endpoints, or even rules. The only goal is to stay in the game, keep showing up, and keep playing. Now, it's these games that women at the top actually play. So it's the woman who stops obsessing over finding the perfect man faster than her friends and instead focuses on becoming the kind of person who would thrive with or without one. It's the entrepreneur who stops comparing her brand to everyone else's highlight reels on Instagram and instead builds something so aligned with her own mission that competitors become totally irrelevant. And it's the woman in the gym who cheers on the person next to her because she knows their wins don't take anything away from her own. They just inspire her to keep going. By playing these infinite games, there's no risk of losing, and your only competition is your former self. You're simply playing to be better today than you were yesterday. So stop trying to win against everyone else. Top 1% women reject competition. Instead of trying to be the best, top women focus on becoming their best. This mindset shift is all it takes to free yourself from comparison and start focusing on your own goals. Which brings me to principle number 6, identity advantage. Setting goals can feel incredibly productive, right? If it's easy to write them down, tick off tasks, and feel like you're moving forward. Here's the catch. When you chase goals blindly without considering who you're becoming along the way, you risk locking yourself into an outdated version of yourself. So top 1% women think about this very differently. They don't obsess over the tasks themselves. They focus on identity first and foremost. Who I am becoming. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says that identity-based habits, where you focus on becoming the person you want to be, are far stickier and more sustainable than chasing outcome-based goals. So instead of thinking, I want to run a marathon, you need to shift your mindset to, I want to be a marathon runner, because I'm the kind of woman who values endurance and resilience. Instead of saying, I want to build a business, it becomes, I want to be an entrepreneur, because I'm the kind of woman who creates value in the world and empowers others. The reality is, as soon as you hit a hurdle, and you will when chasing something ambitious, you will be tempted to give up unless you first anchored your goal in identity. If you see yourself as an entrepreneur, you'll push through setbacks and treat them as lessons because problem solving is now part of who you are. So next time you set goals, ask yourself, who do I want to become? And then James says you need to start proving this to yourself with small wins. So for example, if you're an entrepreneur building your first business, start by helping just one client or making your first 1K online. Each tiny step becomes evidence that you are that person already. And with each action, that identity only gets stronger and stronger. But let's not fall into the trap of trying to be perfect, which brings me on to principle number 7, the imperfect priority principle. One of the most common questions I get, especially from women, is how do you manage long hours while being a wife, running a multi-million-dollar business, and balancing all of those other roles? And the truth is, you don't manage it all by doing everything perfectly. You manage it by letting go of the pressure to be perfect in the first place. If you value your family, relationships, health, and career, you'll inevitably feel torn between them at some points. And that's not failure, that's just what it means to care deeply about more than one thing. The stress doesn't come from the long hours, it comes from the constant pressure you place on yourself to be everything to everyone all at once. It's that nagging voice in your head that tells you you're not doing enough or you're falling short in some way. And it's the mental load of feeling like you need to balance every single role you play to a T. But it's impossible to meet those standards that you set for yourself. And so here's what changed everything for me. I stopped striving for perfection. Instead, I started asking, what if my goal was to be imperfect and do it anyway? Perfection isn't where your true power lies. The power lies in showing up imperfectly, consistently, and simply giving your best. And remember, so many of us, especially as women, carry around inherited definitions of what it means to be a good mom, a good wife, a good entrepreneur. But when was the last time you stopped and asked yourself, is this even true for me? You get to define success for yourself. You get to build your life on your terms, no matter how messy it may seem. And sometimes it is, in fact, in the very mess, behind the scenes, when no one else watches, where all of the magic happens. Which brings me to the final principle, beyond the spotlight. If you think Oprah Winfrey stepped out onto national television already polished and prepared to change the world, then you're missing the real story. Oprah Winfrey has been journaling ever since she was 15 years old and still does so today. She quietly does all of the inner work that no one else sees, and it continues to shape everything she does. That's the truth about invisible work. You'll never see it on Instagram or hear about it in the boardroom. There are no trophies, no onstage standing ovations, there's no immediate payoffs. Now, to most women, this might not seem worthwhile, but top 1% women know the real magic happens here, and they invest in things like journaling, reading and learning, therapy, coaching, meditation and breath work, and quiet solo planning sessions. And I'll tell you, this isn't just theory for me either. I still remember the first time I committed to a journaling practice. It was years ago during a season when everything in my life felt stuck. On the outside, I was checking all of the right boxes, but inside, I felt lost. One morning, almost out of desperation, I sat down with a blank notebook and I just started writing everything that came to mind. And it wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, it was kind of messy, but it was honest. And slowly, page by page, I started to hear my own voice again. That little daily habit didn't just solve everything overnight, but it built clarity and resilience and a self-trust that changed everything for me over time. And even today, journaling is still a powerful success tool for me. Not because anyone else sees it, but because I do. And I know from studies that when you write about yourself, your life, your relationships, and your past experiences in a positive way, which is called positive affect journaling, you can reduce feelings of anxiety and depression while boosting your overall well-being and mental resilience. So here's your challenge. Find just 10 minutes today for your invisible work. And you might want to journal your answer to the question, what belief am I carrying that no longer serves me? Reflect on a recent setback and think about what you can learn from it. Read a few pages of an inspiring book or practice a 2-minute guided breathing exercise. You definitely won't see results instantly and you'll have to stick with it, but trust me, your future self will thank you for all of the work you're putting in right now. Your future self will also thank you if you start doing things today to build your wealth. And so if you want to learn how to manage your money like the top 1% with a simple 3-step formula, definitely click on this video here and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.